Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February 14th Valentine's Day edition of the Fellowship of Spirit Zoom meeting from Farmington, New Mexico. My name is Ron Holloway, and I am pleased to be the moderator for our meeting today. Our program is going to be really exciting. It's special because this is a special day, and we're happy to see all of you, even those that we can't see. We're glad that you're here. I don't see any new people, but I'm glad that everyone is here, and want to extend my personal love, my Valentine's love, to each and every one of you. So we have Travis, Robert. Is it Robert? First, I can't hear you.
I go by Travis.
Yeah. Okay. So Travis, that's his last name, but he uses it as his only name. He is going to be our speaker, and we're excited about hearing from him. I'll give his bio when I get ready to introduce him. But right now we're gonna ask Travis to give us a prayer to begin our session. So go ahead and say the prayer, Travis.
Okay, I'd first like to invite each one to relax, breathe deep, close the eyes if that's comfortable, and breathe again. Breathe deep with me and acknowledge that age-old routine for going within. Yes, I breathe deep and invite you to entertain my words as your own. There's only really one here. And so think along with me along the lines of breathing deep and going to that inner sanctum, that inner space where there is not only my heart, but it is so divinely connected with the one heart of the universe. And so I breathe that truth and reality into my awareness, that here there is only one life, one source, one people. And so I become silent. I become serene and open to the message of spirits, open to what there is to be gained from our time together this morning. And so in so doing, I appreciate the blessings that lie before us. And with another deep breath, I acknowledge that divine presence. I welcome it into my awareness and say, and so it is.
Thank you, Travis. Jerry, do we have any announcements we need to make at the beginning? Okay, we will be having a board meeting after. So if you're a board member, plan on staying a few minutes. I think it'll be really brief, but we will have a board meeting after. And if anyone is interested in just coming, everyone is welcome. All right, so we're pleased and happy to have Fred with us this week. He had to work last week, and we really missed him. But he is here now. And are you ready with a song? Okay, go ahead, Fred. You have to unmute.
Alrighty. Well, I don't know about in your neck of the woods, but it's snowing here. So in light of that, I figured I'd play this song. It's a little tune by Townes Van Zandt. So it's called Snowing in Raton. When the wind don't blow in Amarillo, when the moon along the Gunnison don't rise, and and I'll cast my dreams upon your love, babe, and lie beneath the laughter of your eyes. Well, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Well, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. My mother thinks the road is long and lonely. My little brother thinks the road is straight and fine. Little darling thinks that road is soft and lovely. I'm just thankful this old road's a friend of mine. Well, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Well, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Bid the years goodbye. You cannot steal them. You cannot turn back the circles of the sun. You cannot count the miles until you feel them. You cannot hold a lover when they're gone. Well, I'm snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Well, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Tomorrow, the mountains will be sleeping, silent neath their blanket green and blue. And I shall hear the silence that they're keeping, and I'll bring all their promises to you. Oh, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Yes, it's snowing on Raton. Come on in, I'll be through them hills and gone. Come on in, I'll be through them hills, and I'll be gone.
Thank you, Fred. How are your eyes?
Good, good. I can't see very much out of this one, but it's real muddy, but I can see. This one's been corrected, but it's corrected just for here. And they won't give me glasses until, or prescription for new glasses until in about 2 weeks. So I'm grounded, kind of.
Well, we're glad, and we're glad that you're improving and it's changing, and healing takes time sometimes in reality.
It does. It does.
But we know that you are healing. We love you, and we miss you when you're gone. And we're happy that you're come and sing for us every week, and we thank you for that.
Well, it's my great pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Steve Barker has our spiritual reading today, and I'm sure that he has something interesting and inspirational. So take it away, Steve.
Well, thank you, Ron. Yeah, I do have something from yesterday, as a matter of fact, from the Science of Mind Daily Guide. And it just seems to really fit in with the philosophy of Fellowship of Spirit, our readings, and our Course in Miracles and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. It's called The Power of I Am. I am are two of the most powerful words that can be said. Those words direct not only your thoughts, but also your very being and becoming. Wake up. That's from Genevieve Gerard, pardon me. Wake up. Your word is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal. And your home is everlasting heaven. Realize the truth. I am living in a perfect universe. It always was perfect and always will be perfect. And that's from Ernest Holmes' Creative Mind. Today, I step into a deeper realization of the power of I am. I become conscious of how I use these words because they are creative and powerful. How would life be if I used these words to declare only the highest truth, only how I want life to be? Am I declaring my divinity, or am I pulling myself into a place of doubt about myself and the world? Am I calling forth lack or abundance? Am I expressing concern or faith in the all good? I consciously choose to claim and proclaim good wherever I use the words I am. I am at peace with myself and the world. I am a loving presence. I am loved. I am a healing presence. I am healed. I am awakening to the truth of my spiritual magnificence. I am magnificent. I am living in joy. I am the voice of spirit on earth. I am a light in the world, and I shine brightly. The affirmation is, I am divinely guided in all I do and in the words I speak. With my words and thoughts, I proclaim only good for myself and the world. I thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And likewise, we love you and we appreciate your presence and your contribution to our efforts every single time. They're all worthwhile and inspiring. Thank you, Steve.
Muchas gracias.
All right. Travis, to tell you a little bit about him, attended the Church of Religious Science for the first time in Durango, Colorado in 1986. There he took Science of Mind 1 and a guidance in CRS in Los Angeles, Science of Mind 2. And on May 1st, 1991, Travis arrived in Moscow, Russia, and became the first and only outreach ministry worker for the Soviet America New Thought Initiative, subsequently the UCRS, to live in the Soviet Union, while many followed after the breakup of the USSR. He oversaw the first translations of Psalm into literature into Russia. He organized the first International New Thought Conference in the former Soviet Union in St. Petersburg in October of 1991. After taking Practitioner 1 at Guidance, Travis began teaching accredited courses in the former Soviet Union while studying and completing Practice 2 remotely. After 6 years of outreach ministry between 1991 and 2002, he returned to Long Beach, California, and since then has served at Namaste CRS, Guidance, Reverend Patricia King's Center for Inspirational Living, and lastly, Seal Beach CSL. He has facilitated book study groups using Eckhart Tolle books and several times, and occasionally serves as guest speakers on Sunday, which he is doing today. Twice monthly, he hosts the Seal Box International Heart of Peace Meditations, and he is committed to creating a world that works for everyone. Let us welcome Travis.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Only a couple of you remember when I last spoke there in Farmington way back when Randy and Susan were still there. So it's been a long, long time. And I must say, I would not have been surprised on this Valentine's Day if Fred had sung Love the One You're With. And I, not to second guess him, but I half expected that. I think of that title as appropriate for Valentine's Day. And Love the One You're With is a great thought because you are the one that you are always with. But my traditional opening, the one I like to use because I just love this way of introducing a Sunday presentation. And I learned this up in Durango from Reverend Mark Devers. He would always start his sermons by saying, Spirit has but one divine will, and that is to fully express itself at every point in the universe. And you and I and everyone else are one of those points. So to piggyback on that, in order to fully realize our potential for being one of those points where spirit is free to fully express itself, we might want to look at how we're allowing that by our own relationship with life, at our notions of who and what we really are. And to couple that with some familiar themes in spiritual traditions, one being that God is love, another being that we are children of the Most High, and also acknowledge that the master teacher Jesus asked, know ye not that ye are gods? And so we want to look at ourselves in particular, but when we do, well, let's look at this. If we are to inspect anything and know it well, it serves us to look at it from different directions or perspectives, whether that be a statue, a mountain, a cake, or ourselves, whatever it be. We can look at from different perspectives. And in our case, that's very easy to do because as human beings who are said to be children of God, with God being love, we can be sure that to better understand ourselves, we can look at ourselves, we can look at, take a good look at what God is, or we can look at love. And if we find ourselves understanding any of the three better, we will understand all of them better. So today, of all days, I wish to turn our attention to love. Well, I know there may be some that say, love schmove. I've tried love and it was a failed experiment. No more for me. Well, I kind of think a related thing is that I used to see a bumper sticker from time to time that said, life is a bitch and then we die. Well, life gets a really bad rap there. And so life has something in common with love in this regard. Love is often mischaracterized as well, as in life is, love is a way that we can be hurt. Love is unfair. Life, and so our experiences may not be consistent with the true nature of love. I would like to mention or read something from A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes and Willis Kinnear. And in fact, I believe I bought this book in Durango when I first took that first course in Science of Mind 1. And in the first line in a chapter entitled The Power of Love says, probably no other word in our language has been so misused and misunderstood as the word love. It is used so often in so many different ways that it is almost impossible to give it a clear and concise meaning. Well, to that I say, let me have a go at it, because I've had an experience which I felt like really clarified truly what love is. Love is not a condition. It is not a situation or a circumstance. If we think it is, then it can end. And we can sing that song, Love Hurts. Actually, I can't stand hearing that song because it's so misguided, but it serves us here to consider that is the experience of many people. You know, we think of love and lost. Well, love cannot be lost, just as life can't be lost. Both ideas of losing love, losing life are misconstructs. I turn to Eckhart Tolle, who says about life, you can't lose what you are. You can only lose what you have. You are love, so you can't lose it. You are life, so you can't lose it. So in one sense, love isn't a choice. It is what we are. On the other hand, we may have had experiences with what we think is love as a circumstance or a condition, and we have that end and we have a bad experience. And so we may turn our back on it. We may get disconnected with the true meaning of love. And we can choose to live without what we think love is, just as we may choose to experience darkness by virtue of establishing obstacles to all sources of light. So I would like to mention or refer to one of my experiences by which I was called upon to look seriously upon what love was to me and to inquire further about what it truly is. It was in about 1994, and my Ukrainian wife and I, my Ukrainian wife was Nila, and we went for the weekend down to the Black Sea, to the city of Berdansk, to visit some of her friends and have a couple of days at the beach. And Nila's friends, almost exclusively, were people who were very intuitive, insightful, at least in their own minds. They were very much interested in spiritual matters and seemed to be psychic to some degree. And when we got together with Nila's friends, the topic was always spiritual traditions. And so in this case, once we were there, the very first day, they observed Nila and I together, and in my absence, they conveyed to her the idea that I did not love her. Well, Nila really thought her friends were very credible sources of information, and she bought into that, and it ruined our weekend. And it brought upon me the occasion to look into a spiritual practice that's recommended by a man named Lawrence LeSean in the book, How to Meditate. He said, if you have any question, the answer to which would serve you and move you forward, ask that question in meditation. Ask it with each breath and listen for an answer. And do this for about 10 minutes each day, maybe twice a day. And in some days, maybe a week or 2 weeks, or it may take 2 months, an answer will come to you, because there is nothing you need to know that will be withheld from you. We can't know everything, but we can know what we need to know. And so what I asked was, what is love really? Because I understood that while I really felt that to best of my understanding, I loved Nila, I understood they were also pointing out to both of us, to me in particular, that there were things I needed to learn about love, that I had some issues to clear up or some understanding to be gained. And so I asked that question day after day, but it only required of me 3 or 4 days. Suddenly, there popped into my mind as I asked this question, the word recognition. So I said, well, thank you very much. Now, what does that mean? What is recognition? Why is that an answer to what is love really? And so I started asking what recognition was. And the beauty of this process is that it generated an actual workshop based on what came through, with that answer of recognition. And I did that workshop in Russia and Ukraine and here in California on about 3 different occasions. And what I do in that workshop is I get out a big flip chart and I ask the people in the workshop, how do you experience love? When do you experience love? By what means do you have the experience of love? What does that entail for you? And I began to write down many answers. Some people were reluctant, but I kept at them until everybody provided at least one answer. And a lot of them I heard over the years in each workshop, people would say, I love being with my grandchildren. I love walking in nature. I love reading. I love to either listen to or play music. I like to write. I love to look at the stars. And the answers go on and on. One person even said, I like to drive a nice car fast in the mountains. And so we got this lengthy list. And so when we had a complete list, I started going through it and saying, well, what is really the true essence? What is the essence of these things? That is, perhaps we may think of as attributes of the divine attributes. For instance, music. We listen to beautiful music. It's beautiful. There's harmony. In some cases, we may think it's perfect, and we derive a lot of joy. So perfection, balance, harmony, joy, divine attributes. Driving a fast car in the mountains, the perfection of the engineering, the creativity to create such a machine. Being with my grandkids. Well, when we look upon little children, they're so filled with joy. They're the most beautiful people among us. So here we have beauty and joy and on and on. So for each one of those things on the list, we were able to define something in the way of a divine attribute that was being presented to us in our experience, and our feeling was love. So when I finished compiling this list, then I said, let's look at another list. There was a list familiar to many of us because the world's avatars, the world's spiritual leaders, whether they were shamans or gurus or Jesus or Krishna, we look at all these traditions and ask, what is the divine presence? What have they told us about God? And God is beauty, joy, wisdom, love, power, infinity, and so on, order. And what we discovered was the list of what God is. And I remind you, since we are children of God, the list of what God is the list of what we are. And this was very much reflective of the list of divine qualities that we beheld in those activities or those experiences by which we had a sense of love, the things we love to do. So the conclusion is that love is the feeling that comes upon us when we encounter and recognize some aspect of our own divine nature. Think about that. We recognize some aspect of our divine nature. Anyone can do that. That puts the experience of love at choice for each one of us. We can choose to experience love. We can do that by remembering what it is we've loved to do in the past or what we love to do in the present, whether it's cooking a good meal, whether it's being with children and watching their joy. Hey, it can even be looking at a litter of young puppies or kittens and watching how they tumble and roll over each other and have so much fun and demonstrate for us great joy, and we buy into that. We enjoy watching their antics. This is love. Love is beholding in our experience and in our world those things which are divine attributes in manifestation. Now, there may be some here who do not experience this connection, maybe who do not find it readily available to them as an ability or a capacity to smell the roses, so to speak. And I get that. I've been there, and I acknowledge that this may be the case. And there are remedies even for this, and I'll speak about that after a bit, but it may be something like breath work, utilized to meditate, quiet the busy mind, and get it out of the way, the busy mind which blocks appreciation of the divine. I would say it is reasonable to claim that it is a spiritual assignment for every person to both be and have love. And in fact, in this chapter I referenced by Ernest Holmes and Willis Kinnear, they quote a man named Pitirim A. Sorokin. He says, love not only cures and revitalizes the individual's mind and organism, it proves itself to be the decisive factor of vital, mental, moral, and social well-being and growth of an individual. There, that seems to corroborate the statement I made, that it is a spiritual assignment for every person to both be and have love. And actually, as I said before, we already are love. In many cases, we are simply asleep to that reality to varying degrees. And I think that's a good place for me to say, I get that. I mentioned that before. I remember back in 1972 going to group therapy because I was desperately lonely. I could not face a Valentine's Day. I didn't want to hear the commercials about what people were getting for their love for their partners, their wives, their husbands. I didn't want to hear that stuff because it was so painful for me to go through Valentine's Day and be a lonely person. And part of that was that we were doing in the group therapy. I had said that if I am walking down the street and a woman that I see to be attractive approaches, I look away. I can't even look her in the eyes. What does that say? It says I'm afraid to show myself. I'm afraid to open the windows to my soul because I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate. I'm not deserving. So we are all simply asleep to that reality to varying degrees. And I was at one time, and thank goodness that I do not have that experience anymore. Here it is Valentine's Day. I'm single. It doesn't faze me in the least. Now, Eckhart Tolle says that it is the primary purpose of every person to allow spirit to fully be itself right here and now where each of us is. That's one of his key points that he makes again and again. And notice how that fits in with Reverend Mark Devers saying that spirit wants to fully be itself at every point in the universe. That's our spiritual assignment, to allow that to happen. That's how our life can become full. An awakening is called for, and it comes from a commitment to allow ourselves to be what we were meant to be from the beginning. And that arises from a series of choices. Recognizing the divine is a choice. We can do that at any moment in any day. I put on the third and fourth movements of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, or Miles Davis's album Kind of Blue. There is music that I think we all have music we love. We all have experiences that we love to do, and it connects us with the love that we are. It reminds me of my father, who taught me not to feel. That's how I grew up, at a great disadvantage. My father taught me not to feel. And he was a very unfeeling guy. But when he moved up to Humboldt County, he got involved through his son-in-law's activities, working for the Humane Society. And he raised orphaned litters of raccoons, feeding them with a bottle. And I saw how the love he was found a means for expression. It's there for each one of us to find. Each of us can endeavor to do that now, or we can put it off. Each will do it eventually, because I would suggest that no one can eternally ignore the love that they are and the light within. Everybody will get there eventually. There's no reasonable excuse for waiting to tend to it later. I'm going to turn again for a couple more quotes from New Design for Living from page 144 and 145. Ernest Holmes said, "It is very likely that one of the greatest problems facing the individual and the world as a whole today finds its roots in a lack of love. It would be difficult, if not impossible, to find any situation, condition, or relationship which does not react to the creative and healing power of love in the mind of mankind, men and women." Ernest Holmes is old school. He always says man when he means people. We can forgive him that, certainly. It may not be easy for some. I can think of a couple of friends who've grown up in their families, and as they were raised up, they were valued in their family. And so they were taught to value themselves. And so by extension, they find it very easily to look upon other people more kindly. Like so many, I was not so lucky. Have you ever found people who seem to be very judgmental are also very critical of themselves? You know that saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Well, in my family, the rule seemed to be if you can't say something critical or judgmental, don't say anything at all. And in this kind of case, it's up to you and me to be self-taught. That is not an easy thing to do. It requires the commitment I mentioned earlier. It kind of reminds me of the language of love that I conceived of this when I was trying to learn how to be comfortable in approaching women that were of interest to me. What I began to realize is that I did not speak the language of love. That just like when somebody grows up in a bilingual family, that they can learn English and Spanish, or English and Russian, or whatever that language may be. They learn it very easily. It comes naturally. They speak it with no effort because they learn it by example. In my family, the language of love was not there. So I did not speak that language. And so it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of insight and work to learn Spanish after you've already grown up. It also requires a lot of work to learn the language of love after we've already grown up. So let's start with something. Lesson 1. It was said that we should love our neighbors as ourselves. That says to me that our relationship with ourself is the prototype. If we are to love our neighbors as ourselves, then ourselves come first. That's primary. And if we are someone who did not grow up valued in our family, we have to learn to value ourselves. There was a minister at Guidance Church here in Los Angeles that I loved what he said. Grab yourself by the bootstraps and lift yourself up. It's up to you and it's up to me. If life has been a string of heartbreaks, if your idea of love has not worked out for you, we cannot think that life is against us. We cannot conclude that love is not for me. This is a victimization stance. If we are victims of anything, it is of outside forces, our own inside dynamics. This is good news, for if we were victims of outside forces, we might not be able to make adjustments. We might not be able to fix it if we were victims of something outside of ourselves. Fortunately, we may realize that we're in charge. We're the bosses of ourselves and our experiences, so we can bring about some substantial adjustments, make different choices, change our lives, and step into a greater yet to be. How do we grab ourselves by the bootstraps and lift ourselves up? Well, there are ways to go about this. The fact is, eyes have not seen nor ears have not heard who we are, but the time is coming for us to get it. Look upon creation and behold the divine. Now, I mentioned lesson one. Lesson one is look in the mirror. I remember hearing this way back when I first went to the Church of Religious Science, where I met Randy and Susan. I went to Randy and Susan when they had a clinic on Main Street up in Durango, asking them, is there something I can get to help me open my heart? And Randy told me watermelon tourmaline. So I bought a crystal and I wore it around my neck to bounce on my chest and remind me that I wanted to open my heart. It requires an opening of your heart to look in the mirror, look in your own eyes, and see and say, I am love. I am love. That is first and primary. For if I am unable to do that, then I'm not going to draw into my life a truly loving relationship. It starts with me. Remember that song? Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with me. The same is true of love. Let there be love in my life, in my experience, and in this world, and it begins with me. That's the starting point. Lesson one. We must know that all we love about creation, about the universe, are the divine essences that are the truth of our own being. If I love to look upon the flaming Arizona sunset, which I look upon with awe and appreciation, and know that the reason I appreciate that is because it is a mirror of my own divine quality of beauty. We've got to make that connection. This might be the number one truth that we must know to set ourselves free. So as an option to saying love schmov, or that it's a lifetime sentence to I'm not subject to a lifetime of love schmov syndrome, I've got to put that behind me, look upon the divine in my life and in God's creation, and recognize that my appreciation of anything beautiful, anything harmonious, anything joyful and wise, my appreciation can only exist because that is a truth within me, deep within me, and I'm recognizing it. And in fact, for years and years, I never heard anybody else say, love is recognition. And then Reverend Josh asked me to do a book club on the power of now. And in that book, I read the line, Eckhart Tolle said, love is recognition. Recognition is a choice we can always make. We must come to the point where we look in our mirrors and see a beautiful child of the Most High, a divine expression, our prototype for a loving relationship. At the Huntington Beach Church, we often sang, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. And I add a word to that line. There's nothing I need to change first. A lot of people get caught up in thinking, well, I could accept myself, or I could love myself if I change this or I change that. No, there's nothing you need to change first. It is now that I am a child of the Most High. It is now that I should see myself and answer Jesus's question, know ye not that ye are gods, and say, yes, I know that. There's nothing I need to change first. Words are attributed to the divine or to God that even before they asked, I have answered. How is that true? Because God gave us our divine nature. There is at our center a treasure chest of divine attributes, and it is closed to those who will not go within in meditation and explore and open that treasure chest and bring it forth in their experience. I am love. We must look in the mirror and know that, and say, I love you. It's a learning process. It's a series of choices. I hope I'm pressing upon everyone that whether it doesn't have to be just love, it can be order, it can be abundance, it can be health, or the perfection that health is in the physical sense. It can be any of these divine attributes that's lacking in our lives. Go within, know that that divine quality that is the answer to our issues, our challenges, and our problems is contained in that inner treasure chest of divine attributes that comes to us in meditation. We can open it and take out what is necessary for us now. We align our thoughts about ourselves with Spirit's original idea of us, and that's what needs to be done to move us forward to a greater yet to be. I love me and I love you. Allow that to be, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. That was great. That was quite appropriate for Valentine's Day. I couldn't think of a better talk. You did really well. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Does anyone have any questions or comments that they would like to share with Travis? Just unmute and come forward.
I would just like to say that as much as I appreciated the whole message of the love thing, is I was really taken by the friends of your Ukrainian wife that sparked something in you to have to evaluate or consider, and where you were able to take that into workshops and everything. It's that whole thing. There are no accidents, and you know what man may have felt was evil, God meant for good. You know, that revelation. I mean, to say, geez, what is that about? And to come up with a whole different lifestyle because of that. That just intrigues me. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. You're so right. I recognize that these things that come into our experience that are difficult for us are such golden opportunities to go within and learn the lesson and go forth better off for having had the challenging experience. Yes, thank you for noticing that.
So difficulties can often be a blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, you had mentioned that it was your worst weekend ever.
It was, well,
It
no,
had
I
to
wouldn't
happen.
say that, but it was a ruined weekend. But what came out of it was has benefited not only myself, but I've been able to share that with so many, and now you today.
Well, what I found that's about that particular incident too is most of us would at some point in our life would take that as a criticism and become defensive about it instead of going within and trying to figure out, well, okay, what do I need to look at here? And, you know, I myself at some point in my life earlier on would have been extremely defensive and, you know, try to come up with excuses or reasons why I was the way I was. And now I would find that as an opportunity, as you did, to look within and find a different way to approach it. So thank you very much. You know, these are wonderful words of wisdom, especially on Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And on Valentine's Day, Travis, I just want to say, I'm so glad you have been in my life for so many years. I've always appreciated your childlike nature, the love you have for everything, the joy you see. it's been a wonderful blessing for me. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Susan. And it's just, I love you. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you're here today. And right here in front of you, I want to share something. And that is that I was not at the First Church of Religious Science in Durango for very long when I heard that Randy and Susan were hosting bi-monthly meditation groups at their home up there at Whispering Pines it was. And I remember going to those meditation groups, and someone would lead everybody in a guided meditation. You're walking through meadows, or you're put in all kinds of settings. And after the meditation, everybody go around and share how it was for them. And I would have nothing. I would just have nothing. But I found out later that it's because we're all different. My meditations are not visual, they're feeling based. And so I never was strong on the visual guided meditations. And but yeah, I finally remember, but still it got me well on the way to being a meditator, and that happened at the home of Randy and Susan.
So Travis, don't you have a meditation site that you do every week?
Yeah, I'm supposed to do that this Wednesday. It's actually listed with Centers for Spiritual Living's headquarters website. But I can get that information to you. It's first and third Wednesdays at 10 in the morning. I do a Heart of Peace meditation, and that is listed on the CSL website. But beyond that, oftentimes on second and fourth Wednesdays, I do healing meditations. Now, I am supposed to get my second coronavirus vaccination Tuesday, and I am told I should not be planning to host that this Wednesday because it often is difficult for some people for 24 to 48 hours. But someone will be stepping in if it's not me. But I can get that. How's the best way to get that information to you?
You can send it to my email address since you already have it, and then I'll share it with other people.
Okay, I'll do that this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for asking.
Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you once again for coming. And I think that there's no ever any time or words wasted when we are seeking to expand our capacity for love, because it is all worthwhile. I think that is what we're here for, is to learn about love. And one of the first lessons is I had to learn how to love myself and quit abusing myself, because I was abusing the people around me as myself rather than loving them. And I had to learn those lessons, but it was normal for me and I didn't know any better. And that's true, I think, for most people. Thank you. Thank you, Travis. All right. Does anybody have anything else? If not, we're going to ask Fred to give us another song.
I'd just like to mention a bumper sticker I used to have on my Mercury. It said, life is school, love is the lesson.
Yeah.
I like that.
There you go. Yeah, pretty good. All right. Well, thank you again, Travis. Fred, you ready to sing?
I shall try. I
All
shall
right.
try. Well, this is a more upbeat song. It's a cowboy-ish song. It was written by Jackson Browne. He recorded it. Didn't really go anywhere for him, but it did for the Eagles. So this is a little song about kind of how it feels to be young and in love. Anyway, it's called Take It Easy. Well, Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I've got 7 women on my mind. 4 that wanna own me, 2 that wanna stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Well, I'm standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see. It's a cool mile load in a flatbed floor, slowing down to take a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna stay. We may lose and we may win, but we will never be here again. So take it up, I'm finding in. Take it easy. All right. Well, I'm running down that road trying to loosen my load. Got a world of trouble on my mind. I'm looking for a lover, won't blow my cover, makes it so hard to find. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of them old wheels drive you crazy. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna save me. Ooh, 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 yeah, ooh, gotta take it easy, baby, take it easy. You gotta take it easy.
All right.
Great.
Take it easy.
Thank you, Fred.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Beautiful. All right. Okay. Are there any other announcements we need to make, Jerry? No. Does anybody have an announcement that they'd like to share with the fellowship? Okay, we'll be waiting to hear the connection to be able to hook up with Travis on his meditation site. And so we'll make that available. Cherry will make it available to everyone who is interested in doing that. And so you could probably expect some of us to show up on your meditation site. We love it. So I would like to iterate again that I love each and every one of you, just as you are today, without having to change anything. And try to do that not only on Valentine's Day, which is the official love day, but every other day of the year is just as important as the official celebration days.
Does everybody see Steve's cute little emoji there?
No,
If you look at his thing, he's got a cute little dog with a heart.
oh, dog with a heart. Yeah.
Yeah. That's our Valentine.
That's a hedgehog.
Oh, is that a hedgehog? Okay.
Yeah, supposedly.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Steve.
That's great. That's great.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah, remember hugs?
I do. I miss them.
Well, Father, Mother God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings that you have brought us today, the people that have shared their wisdom and their heart and their love with us today. We ask that you would bless them in kind and guide them to greater and greater deeds. We ask that you would protect each and every one of us and that you would keep us safe, keep us healthy, help us to keep our hearts and our minds and our hands open to receive those blessings which you have for us, just waiting for us to be ready to accept them. Help us to be receptive to your love and to be able to receive it and then share it. And we ask these things in the name of the Christ energy. Namaste.
Namaste.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn off the recording.